Hi everyone, it's your math teacher back at it again. And today we are going to look at right triangle similarity. So let's get after it. First, let's talk about what the prerequisite skills are to be able to understand today's lesson. Okay guys, first one is you got to be able to look at a picture like this one. And with the method I'm going to teach you today, you need to be able to say where the longest and the shortest side are and where the middle length side are. So the shortest one is probably the easiest. Do you see where the shortest is? Okay, shortest is down here on the bottom. And then the very longest, we said it's going to be about right triangles today. The longest is always the hypotenuse. So I'm going to call this the longest. And then I'm going to put that this is the medium side. Okay, so there are two things you're going to need today. That's one of them. Okay, so we got to recognize that. Here's the second thing, and we're going to talk about the actual concept. We're going to talk about what happens when we have a right triangle and we have an altitude. So I'm going to write that out. When we have an altitude on a right triangle. Okay, and so here's what I'm going to try. And guys, this is an arbitrary triangle. The only angle measure, and I don't know any side lengths. The only angle measure I know is right here. So I'm just going to call this angle A, and I'm going to call that angle B. And so what I know right now, since those are angles of the triangle, I know that A plus B plus 90, those are the three angles of the triangle, so they add up to 180. Okay, so now I'm going to put an altitude on there. And folks, an altitude on a triangle looks like this. Oops, my drawing's a little off. Looks like that. Altitude means it hits at a right angle. And so what I want you to now see is we started with one triangle, but how many triangles do you see now? Okay, and I hope you can see three. There's a triangle on the right, there's a triangle on the left, and then there's the big triangle. There's three triangles. But here's what's really cool about that. Right now, we have three similar triangles, which allows us to use proportions, and here's why. Okay, we saw in the beginning that if you have a right triangle and one of the angles is A, the other one has to be B, because that's what makes them add up to 180. And so now on the left, we have a right triangle where we have a right angle, angle A, and so what about this angle? What does that have to be? I'm being kind of cheeky. That's B. It's angle B. Okay, so we have a triangle with A, B, and a right angle. This triangle has a B, a right angle, and right triangles have to add up to, or excuse me, all triangles have to add up to 180 in a plane at least, and so that has to be A. So remember in our previous video, we learned about angle, angle similarity. We have angle, angle similarity here because every single one of these triangles, all three of them, have an angle A with 80 degrees in it, however many that is, and an angle B, and they have a 90-degree angle. Okay, so that's going to be important. That's going to let us set up proportions. Let's look at how it's useful. Okay, here's our first example today. Don't worry about it being number 13. I'm just taking that from a publication. So what we have here is three triangles, left triangle, right triangle, and big triangle. I would like you to please pause the video and draw the picture. As soon as you're done drawing the picture, hit play again, and I'm going to explain what you can do next. But please pause the video, have your picture down so you can track with me. Okay, now that you've drawn the picture, here's what we can do. Okay, it's really hard to understand this visual as it sits right now because there's three triangles and they're overlapping. But if we break the triangles apart and we look only at one triangle at a time, this is going to become a lot easier. And so here's what I want you to do. I want you to draw on your page, please, and do this with me right now. I'd like you to draw three right triangles. Okay, and I'm doing my best drawing. It's not very good, but I'm going to give my best effort here. Okay, and I'm trying to make those all look the same. I'm going to call this the small, I'm going to call this the medium, and I'm going to call this the large. Okay, and guys, you go, wait, but they don't look like one's larger, they don't look small. I understand that. All I'm doing is I'm connecting that to what I see in the picture here, because this is going to be a way of understanding. And you know what? Guys, those of you who've had my class, you know I'm not good at drawing, okay? But that's okay. Even though I'm not excellent at drawing, and even whether you're great or not, you're still going to be able to do this. That's one of the cool things about this method. You do not have to be an excellent artist to be successful with this. Okay, so here's why it could be useful. We're first going to start with the small triangle. And the way I've drawn this, I've tried to make this thing on the bottom the shortest side. This is the medium side, and that's the longest side. So I'm going to look at the small triangle right here. Okay, and I want to know what is the shortest side. Well, the shortest side looks like 3, and so I'm going to put a little 3 right there. Where's the medium side at? Medium side looks right there. I don't know what it is. It's not labeled, so I'm not going to write anything. I'm going to look for the longest side, the hypotenuse, and here it is. That's x. Okay, it's not helpful yet. It's going to be helpful in a minute. Now let's look at the medium triangle. Medium triangle is this one on the left. And so right here, this has no label. Is that the longest, the shortest, or the medium side of this triangle? Now that can be confusing for new learners because yeah, that was the medium side right here. But also, now we're talking about the medium triangle. And so that's the shortest side of this triangle, so the short side gets no label. The 9 is the medium side of that triangle. And the y is the hypotenuse of this medium triangle. So I'm going to label it like that. Now let's look at the big triangle, the whole shape. Shortest side. Where is the shortest side at? Okay, it looks like this is the shortest side of the big triangle, so I'm going to put an X there. Y is the medium side. And the hypotenuse is down here. Now some people want to put 9, some people want to put 3, but if it's 9 and then it's 3 more, that actually is 12. We have to add those together. Okay, and so now we've got our setup. And one of the things that's nice about that is I no longer have to use this image that has all those overlapping shapes that's hard to understand. I can now pick 2 triangles at a time down below, and I can use those. So let me show you how that's done. Guys, we want to find x and y. It doesn't say that in the directions here, but we do want to find x and y. That's going to be our goal today. We're just going to practice finding variables in these next 4 examples. So here's what I'm going to do. X is in the same spot as 12, and 3 is in the same spot as x. And so here's what I'm going to write because of that. X over 12 equals 3 over x. Okay, those are the corresponding parts. Now notice, I skipped right over the medium triangle because my goal right now is I'm trying to find x. And there's no information about x in this middle triangle, and so right now it doesn't do me any good. But that's what's kind of cool. Remember, looking at the big picture, we were looking at 3 triangles. What we're going to do is we're breaking it down into 3 triangles, and we're only going to use 2 at a time. That way, we're not using all the information at once, and it's less overwhelming. Should make it a little more comfortable for us. Okay, let's continue. 3 times 12 is going to be 36. X times x is the same as x squared, and you may remember how we get rid of a squared. We need to take a square root of both sides, and then we get 6 equals x. Okay, that's the first one. Now, let's try to figure out what y is. Okay, and so what I'm going to do is I'm going to look back at the picture. I'm going to figure out which 2 triangles have y in them. Looks like the medium and the large. And so I'm going to now connect those. Y is in the same spot as 9. And y is in the same spot as 12. But remember, the arrows, we learned this in the last video, the arrows have to go the same direction. So they're both going to go to the left. Now, you could have drawn them both to the right. It doesn't actually matter, but they both have to be going in the same direction, however you chose it. Okay, so here we go. Y goes with 9, and 12 goes with y. And now we're going to do some cross multiplying. So 9 times 12, when you do that, you get 108. And that equals, and you get y times y, that's y squared. And then we're going to take a square root of 108. I'm going to do that on both sides, actually. And I'm going to round off my answer for you here. And what I get when I do that is 10.4. Okay, so we wanted to find x and y, and that's it. So we're doing 3 more examples today. The process is going to be exactly the same. What I want you to try as we go through the rest of the video is I want you to try to do as much of each one as you can. So I want you to pause frequently. Pause the video, do as much as you can, then watch the video, see how you did. Pause, see how you did, or pause work, then play and see how you did. Now, you may notice your setups are a little different than mine. Now, maybe you flipped both fractions. Guys, or maybe your arrows go a different direction. If they both are going a different direction, and they're each going the same direction, so if they both go a different direction than mine, but they're going the same direction as each other, you're right, okay? You absolutely nailed it if you did that, and you're going to see that when you get the same answer that I do, even with a different method, so kind of cool. Okay, here's our next one. Pause the video, draw the picture, do as much of it as you can on your own. When you need help, hit play. Okay, here I go. Okay, small triangle, medium triangle, large triangle, S, M, L. I'm going to label those up. On my small triangle, I have 4 and I have y. On my medium triangle, it looks like I have y, x, and 12, just like that. And on my large triangle, looks like I have x and 16. Now, if you're having trouble drawing your triangles, put the right angle in there so you can tell which one is the right angle. That'll help you identify the short, the medium, and the long. Okay, and now let's try to set up some equations. Okay, I'm going to find x first. Looks like I have a bunch of information with x's right here. So it looks like x goes to 16 and 12 goes to x. So x over 16, 12 over x. And folks, I'm going at a speed that's probably faster than you can write. Remember, I'm doing that on purpose because I want you to pause the video, try it on your own, and all you're doing when you're watching, you're checking to see how you did. Okay, let's do a little cross multiplying. 12 times 16. And that's 192. X times x is x squared. and then we're going to take a square root of both sides, and the square root of 192 is 13.9. Okay, and I'm going to show here I took a square root of both sides. Now let's find y. And I'm looking at y, and I've got some information with y. Looks like y goes with 12, and 4 goes with y. So y, 12, 4, y. Let's do some cross multiplying. 48 equals y squared. Take a square root of both sides, and I get 6.9. Okay. Let's try another one. Pause the video, draw it, do as much as you can, only hit play when you're ready for help. Small, medium, large. S, M, L. Put in my right angles, and let's label them up. Now, guys, one thing that's not debatable, the way you fill out these isn't really debatable. You have to have the same labels in the same spot. There can be some debate on how you set up your proportions based on the direction of your arrows, but you need to have the numbers and the letters in the same places that I do on these. Okay, so let's try this. 2 and 3 for the small one, and looks like 3 and X. And then for the big triangle, I have these two. And remember before we were adding those together, so we're not going to change now. So that's X plus 2. Now, one thing I'd want you to see right away on here is one of these three triangles is actually totally useless. Which one is it? Okay, look, it's right here. It doesn't have enough information. Okay, there's only one side labeled. And we know that we have to compare two sides in a proportion. And so that actually is totally out of the picture. If we can recognize there's not enough information there, then that's one less thing to confuse us. But we are going to come back here. 3 goes with X, and 2 goes with 3. So 3 over X equals 2 over 3. And that's why I like the arrows. It helps keep my order right. And cross multiplying, 3 times 3 is 9, and 2 times X is 2X. Divide by 2. And X equals 4.5. One more, and we're done. Here we go. All right, guys, again, you know the drill at this point. You're going to do as much as you can without me, and then you're going to hit play and see how you did. And that's how you're going to get feedback on this. Okay, so pause now and draw this. Small, medium, large. Looks like we go 5, Y, X, and Y and 11. And on the big shape, we have X and we have 16. Okay, let's continue. Looks like Y goes with 11, and I'm just doing the one that jumps out at me right away, and 5 with Y. So Y, 11, 5, and Y. There's my setup. Cross multiplying, 55 equals Y squared. Let's take a square root of both sides, and you are going to need a calculator for this. 7.4 is what I'm going to round it to the nearest tenth. 7.4 equals Y. Remember, we're square rooting. That is how we're doing it. Squares and square roots cancel out, if you recall. And then we look like we probably need to find X. And so what I'm noticing is if I go X right here, X can't go to there because there's no label there. So X must go all the way over here to 16, which means I'm now going to look for 5 to go with this X. Cool, that'll work. X over 16, 5 over X. A little bit of cross multiplying, 5 times 16. That gives me 80. Equals X squared. We're going to take a square root of both sides. Hey, there's kind of a pattern here. We kind of always do that, don't we? And we get 8.9 when we do that. Square root of both sides. There it is. Okay. There's X. There's Y. We're done. So guys, what I hope you get to see is there's a lot of patterns in this. Okay, we're breaking it down into 3 shapes. It's very common that we are cross multiplying and getting something squared, but not always. Okay, our previous example, X only appeared one time, and so when we cross multiplied, we got 2X. Okay, that was a difference. They're not the same thing every time, but they're very close every time, and it relies on what we learned previously about setting up proportions from 2 shapes. Hope you enjoyed the video. That's all for now. We'll see you next time.